Welcome back to Adanac Accent Coaching. My name's Allison. Something a little bit different today. I thought I would read a short story from this cool book. It contains neopronouns, and some people are just not used to these neopronouns, and why not hear them in a short story read aloud? So it's a 2-pager, so I'm just going to get started. I haven't practiced this, so please be kind. Rotas ad Astra by Nepenthes. Amber strapped the helmet beneath her chin and checked that her ears weren't peeking out in a weird way before pulling the visor down. The UI flickered before her eyes, and the anarchist transgender pride flag filled her vision, bold letters proclaiming cheerfully that gender is our universe. She stared at the initialization sequence icon until her surroundings faded behind a blue filter and the countdown to launch. She closed all non-essential communication channels, flexed her fingers around the handlebar grips, and settled down on her saddle. The protective force field spread around her with its usual buzz. Oxygen filled the air inside the force field, the tank icon appearing in the top left of the left corner of her UI, and she winked twice towards it, then looked left 3 times in order to select the menthol flavor she fancied for this launch. So, you're really doing this, aren't you? Ash asked, Zir voice sounding a little higher through the headphones of Ember's helmet. I mean, you ready for this? Ash, I love you, but your job right now is to give me atmospheric conditions, Ember answered, relaxing her shoulders. 79 seconds to launch. I'm going to not change my mind now. Everything's clear. All readings are holding steady. Everyone's texting me to say hi and good luck and things. Nathan says if you go round the shop, bring him snacks. I don't know what that means. Ember chuckled. Tell him he can go and ride his own space bike to the space shop. And get him a couple of Choco bars at Intermart. Use my account. Sure, a heartbeat. Say, you've got your water, you've got your pills, you've got your rations, Ash. Amber sighed but forced herself to smile because she'd been told people could actually hear the smile in one's voice. It's fine, it's all fine. This isn't my first solo space trip. I'm not even the first disabled. But you're the 3rd, Ash protested. And it is your first trip since surgery, and it's a bloody return trip to that. To the moon. Listen, I got extra hot patches, extra meds, extra everything. It's like going camping. I just need to make sure I don't run out of oxygen. But that'll be easy without you to take my breath away. It's absolutely not like camping. And while that was very smooth, I'm still worried. Ash, yeah, I know. Back to work. 30 seconds to launch. Thanks. Love you. The countdown appeared at the low right corner of Ember's visor. She batted her eyelids, and the initialization sequence commands halved to a smaller window right above it, allowing her a clear view of the launching ramp. The bright red lights marking the upward curve she was meant to follow turned orange, and she put her foot on the pedal. All right, we're sending you off, Ash said, not a wink later. Take care, and please get the voice channel back on as soon as you're out of orbit. Okay, so that's 9, 8, 7. The propulsion pad warmed up under Ember's other foot. She braced herself for launch, eyes fixed on the opening of starry night sky far up ahead. 6, 5, 4. She could feel the tremble in Ash's voice and the rumbles of the engine behind her. It was called a space bicycle because when the momentum would stop propelling her forwards, she would have to pedal her way through in order to supplement the energy gathered from the stellar panels spread all over the vehicle. Low gravity would do the rest. Space bikes had been invented to circumvent an old transportation law. A space bike even had wheels for launch and landing. It was possible to ride it on most of the known planets, technically, but the sturdy and thus burdensome hull and the requirements of both gravity and stellar energy were such that it would not make much sense to. Amber didn't ride hers anywhere other than in space or around the training center. She had a non-spatial regular bikes for her non-spatial regular travels. After all. 3, 2, 1, 0. See you, babe. Love you, Ember shouted over the shockwave that sent her up the launching ramp. Ember December, on my way to the moon. She shut off the voice channel and tightened her grip on the handlebar. She couldn't help but start pedaling now, even if she knew she was losing precious stamina for nothing at all, and that this was the reason she'd settled for the silver medal in the first ever long-distance bicycle race back in 2386. And hadn't that been the most frustrating thing? But it was a habit. Soon the ramp faded from her sight, replaced by the velvet-like black of the desert night. Space cyclists of yore used to have to follow cables and ramps all the way, rendering long-distance trips like this one impossible. But Ember hadn't gotten a monocross with enhanced Venusian stabilizers just to follow a traced road. She'd fallen in love with biking because it allowed her to get off the roads and into the woods and mountains. Of course, a space trip implied following a strictly defined route, sleeping cycles, and meal times. But the only communication channels available up there were the launch center and Ash's personal cell, and that was priceless. With an average speed of 2,000 kilometers per hour, thanks to her own inertia as the only resistance, and an approximate distance of 350,000 kilometers, thanks to the moon being at its perigee, it would take Ember roughly 6.5 days to reach her planned landing site. 6.5 days of pure solitary bliss. The great void of night, nothing to see but the stars, the earth getting smaller and smaller behind her. The moon herself slowly closing in. Ember knew this sort of trip would drive so many of her friends mad. But to her, it was very much the point. This is why she loved biking so much, she thought as she glanced back to the twinkling lights of the launch center below. She liked to take her time and admire the view along the way. She liked that she could ride along with others and on her own. She liked the physicality of it, the feeling of her feet pedaling faster and faster without so much as breaking a sweat as she switched gear after gear. She liked that whether on Earth or in space, biking would lead her to places others might have traveled before her, but which still felt like hers to discover. Whether it was a hidden brook or an asteroid too small to be charted, there wasn't much difference to her. Her bike would ride her into the great unknown, and then back home. Why is this making me emotional? I love this story. So the neopronouns in that story were Zir, XYR. It was for Ash. Thanks for tuning in.